All right. And we're live. Welcome to the Commissioner Evaluation Show. We have a great guest today, Commissioner Breeze, coming on, having living a dream for us, having to go on. But I'm John McGlynn. You can find me on a Twitter machine at John McGlynn75. Today I had the pleasure of talking my lovely and talented co-host, Justin Taylor, and the handsome and talented Commissioner Breeze. So we'll talk about the news, rumors, the Underwear Olympics called the NFL Combine. We'll jump into some commissioner questions, settings he prefers in leagues, and then we'll talk about NFL rumors, news, and then we'll do some Mighty McGlynn trades in my home league, Mighty McGlynn home leagues, and then we'll evaluate a team for a rebuild or a remodel. So let's get this show on the road.
Is in. Let the fun begin. This is the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast with your host, John McGlynn.
Was that Herms?
He got them guests on the Rolodex, stopping by to talk about some Dynasty Superflex. Everybody, yo, commish is in. It's time to sit down to listen to John McGlynn. Yo, who we trading, who we fading, who we getting off the squad. Knowledge never overrated, playing for number one. And yo, McGlynn is in. It's time to let the fun begin. It's the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast with John McGlynn.
Thank you, Herms, for that awesome intro. Much appreciated. I love his work. I love his stuff. Hit Herms NFL up if you need an entry song for your show. He's fantastic. So, a little bit about me. Last week, I joined a new dynasty league. This is kind of a big deal because it's my first ever non-charity, non-in-person league. It's actually a dynasty league that I'm not part of. A sit down in a bar, drinking with friends, making fun of each other. It was an online league. So it's Matty Kiwum and Jason Allwine from Player Profiler. It's a 14-team Superflex. I think I talked about a little bit last week when it was getting started, but we're finally done. It's Superflex, tight end, premium, 0.75, 10 starters, 12 bench players, 5 IR spots, 3 rookie round drafts every year. I got Patrick Mahomes and I got Christian McCaffrey. And after that, my entire team just fell off the face of the earth. It's a terrible team. I'm already in rebuilding mode, and we just had a draft, which is unlike me. I usually walk away talking about my team, how I love my startups. And man, I'm just like, this is fucking terrible. Like, I don't know. When you do auction leagues, they're the most fun in the world, but at the same time, like I drove out to JT's place and we did this. We started out. It was 5 rounds of auction first of all, and then it was a slow draft for the next like 18 rounds, whatever it was. So, but we couldn't pass up McCaffrey at what the price was to get him. So it was like, oh shit. But I hate drafting running backs early, especially 28-year-olds in a startup, or 26-year-olds in a startup, and you couldn't really pass him up. And then like DJ Moore was going for like $65, and Chris Godwin and guys like that who I absolutely love. I'm like, I was watching those guys fall off the board. And then the snake draft kept going. And it was like, shit. Every time I picked somebody that I thought was a value, the other players were right where just past me, just before me. Like I couldn't really, it was like the steering wheel was off for the ship. I was kind of, ruddering, and just nothing went right. And that's terrible. It's a terrible place to be when you don't like your team right from the get-go. But there's been 100,000 trades, and it's called the Trade Gods Invitational, and these guys are just trading like it's going on. Every day there's probably 5 or 6 trades in this league. Every day, it's fantastic. People are trading draft picks, fab players. 2 years from now, draft picks. It's super awesome. So it is cool as far as being, the activity anyway. So, JT, what's up with you? What's up with you?
John, I always say auction leagues, auction leagues are like your strategy goes out the window so fast. It's like every auction league, you kind of know what you want to spend on a guy. You kind of know what you want to do, but it goes so quick with the timer and everything else. And then guys going for this amount or that amount. It's the easiest one to lose your strategy and just everything goes off of the rails is those auction leagues. So I know how I was sitting there with you. I was like, oh, that guy's going too cheap. And then next thing you know, you look down and you're like, oh, we don't have any money left. It gets brutal, man. But yeah, just hanging out, just getting ready for the combine. I'm going to head to Indy on Saturday and watch the quarterbacks. So we'll see who actually does much. You know how it always is, half the guys bail. But pumped about going to that, and actually going to go see the Bulls on Sunday play the Pacers. So just rolling over leagues, doing all the changes, sending out all the league polls and votes. Anybody who played an IDP saw a huge difference on MFL yesterday. So that was a monster one. I know you're not in any IDP leagues, but they did a big position change on MFL leagues. And so that's all the rage on Twitter and people that are in my leagues that are IDP. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with at the moment.
I'll never know. I'll never know what happens in IDP leagues, and I don't. What about you, Breeze? What's going on? What's up with you lately?
For me, again, thanks for having me on. Glad to be here with you guys, chopping up some football. But as for me, I've just got one foot in, one foot out when it comes to just what's going on in the world of football and fantasy and stuff like that. Redraft, we just ended about 2 months ago, and just kind of been enjoying some downtime, just slowly recharging. Like JT said a moment ago, combine coming up. And my favorite part of the off season that's coming up that I'm looking forward to the most is free agency. That's what I'm really excited about. So I'm waiting to see, once we get past this fluff and rumor stage, you're hearing about names getting cut, candidates and names, possibly getting franchise tagged. But I'm just here for the ride. I'm waiting to see who actually goes where so I could begin to taking some notes as far as, next season go, because at least for me, free agency kind of is like the starter point for me when it comes to evaluating how I view players on either the same team or changing teams for 2023. So that's pretty much what's going on with me.
That's fantastic. It's this is what Russ Fisher calls the non-point scoring season. So it's just as active, if not more active, than the regular season itself. So I love the point scoring season. It's definitely one of my favorites. Setting the lineup gets, after a while it gets kind of methodical every week. It's like, all right, I just kind of watch the games on Thursday, and then Sundays, sitting in front of the red zone, just kind of going nuts, pulling your hair out every time you guys don't score. You're getting smoked, and then you catch up. That kind of stuff. But this 9-point scoring season, when all these things happen, I think it's my favorite time of the year. With free agency is definitely something to look forward to. The combine's fun, but as Peter Howard said, the combine does not matter whatsoever. So you're just wasting your time watching it. But I still like to watch it. I don't care how much wasted time or whatever. I have nothing but time to waste. So here we go. Watch away. I'll drink some beers and watch guys run in underwear and have a great time. So it's my favorite sport. It's my favorite activity. It's my favorite everything. So I had no problem wasting that kind of time. So where can the Twitter machine find you? What do you got going on? TikTok, InstaFace, all that kind of stuff. Tell me all about yourself in the social media world.
For me, you can follow me on Twitter at MCBreeze11. Facebook, you can follow me at Commissioner Breeze. Not on TikTok or Instagram. It's nothing personal like that. I just have a limit as far as how much social media that I will allow myself to consume in a given time. But as far as on Twitter, you can find me posting inspirational stuff, family stuff, nuggets on what's going on in the fantasy football world in regards to dynasty, redraft, or anything Lions related. You can hear me mentioning a comment about whatever it is that is going on with the team on Twitter. So that's what's going on with me.
Yes. JT, what do you got going on social media wise? I think I forget to ask you all the time. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, I'm mostly on Twitter, to be honest with you. All my other social medias, I have so much that I use for my businesses that it's like I feel like I'm on there all the time promoting businesses. What's the special of the day? What do we got coming up? What's the new beer coming out? So I'm always doing that stuff for work. So mostly you can find me on Twitter at JT Orange. That's where I'm pretty much putting up anything fantasy football wise, all that. Almost all my other sites, honestly, it's all personal stuff or work stuff that doesn't have anything to do with fantasy football or sports in general. So I pretty much stick to Twitter for the most part. And I'm in a bunch of Discords all across the land that I get in there and I chop it up with guys talking about trade pools, dynasty theories, what do you think about this, that. So a lot of times you can find me there, and I'm usually JT Orange or JT Orange 4 in most of the discords. Or if you see me at Steel Horseshoe is my fantasy name. So that's where all my fantasy teams are. So if I'm in a league with you and you didn't know you were in a league with me, I'm usually Steel Horseshoe. That's where you usually can find me messing around.
Tell me about a day outside of the life of fantasy football for one Commissioner Breeze. Work, family, all that kind of stuff. Like, what's going on? Like, how does you get up in the morning, the alarm clock goes off? What's going on?
For me, my day can start anywhere from 2 to 4 in the morning, just depending on what's going on that particular day. I'm working usually about 50 to 55 hours a week. So I'm pretty much away from home a lot. So when I get home from work, I usually get mobbed by the kids. Wife is literally at the door, handing me the kids. Get away, it's your turn. Your shift to watch the kids and have fun with them. And so there's really no rest for me, even when I'm off work. And in between time, I'll find, a way to hop on Twitter and try to post some stuff when I can. But it's a pick and choose type of thing. So that's what a typical day is like for me, outside of, social media.
Yeah. What does fantasy football mean to you?
It's something that is near and dear to my heart. It's one of the greatest things that I've personally ever done. The only regret that I have about fantasy football is wishing I would have done it a lot sooner. It allowed me to establish and develop relationships with people that we chat with each and every day. For those who know me, I cherish those relationships very much. It's how I run my leagues. I like to have that foundation in place. It's not just us in the league. It's you're with me. I know you. You know me. It's no feeling of isolation or anything like that. So that's one thing that I like about fantasy football. But another thing I like about fantasy football too, and what it means to me is that it allows us to connect with other fans who share that same passion as you. Whether they're a fan of a rival team that you don't like, it's that common middle ground where you all can just get together and root for your team. Because, I know you, John, I know you a Bears fan, and I have players on my teams from Chicago. And whenever I see them play, other teams or my team, I'm rooting for that player, but I still want my team to win at the end of the day.
Right.
So that's what fantasy football means to me. It's just a platform for fans who are either into sports or who have an interest in sports, just, getting together to play a game that we all love, and that's football.
Exactly. JT, what does fantasy football mean to you, real fast?
Yeah, I think Commissioner Brees said that perfectly. I think that's John, something that me and you talk about all the time. That's kind of the heart and soul of this show is doing those live drafts, being with your friends, being with guys you know. I know when I moved back in town after being gone for about a decade, first thing I did was start a fantasy football league with all the guys I went to high school with that I hadn't seen forever, and it was a great way to reconnect with those guys and get back to know them and hanging out. And I think that's those live drafts, those drafts where you get to know your buddies, get to hang out with them. I mean, to me that's half the fun of fantasy is that live draft, getting your buddies all together, getting to have a beer, just mess around, talk smack to each other, eat some chicken wings. I mean, that's what fantasy football is to me. I was in the sports world forever as a journalist, and covering it was awesome. But the best part about fantasy, I think, is just being able to enjoy it with your friends and other fans outside of just being the sport. And I think that's what makes fantasy football awesome, and any kind of fantasy sport, really. So I think he hit it on the head there as far as, why we do this, why we love it. I got into fantasy pretty early. In my life with a few leagues with some guys I knew, but I'm the same way. I wish I would have got in a little bit earlier too on more leagues and more things. The online leagues are great. I'm in a bunch of them. I love them, but obviously the leagues you can do with all your friends and people you know are even better.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely that's what it's all about. Uh-oh. Take your time. So I'm just uh what is
Kids attacking him here.
kids are attacking him in the background, yeah.
Got to do dad duty for a minute here.
That's right. He's home from work. It's his turn. So
Yeah, John. I mean, John, this is something I know because since you always host the show and don't get to talk about it all the time. But yeah, kind of tell us a little bit about your motivation of why you run all the home leagues you do. It's a ton of work. Everybody I know that's in those leagues appreciates it. I'm pumped because I'm getting in my first home league with you this year, so I can't wait for the draft. I'm already fired up about it. Kind of what makes you want to focus on that and kind of do that type of draft as opposed to being in 100 online leagues.
yeah, I'm still in leagues. Well, I should say I'm still the people in my home leagues. I still talk to probably about close to a dozen of my friends that I've known since kindergarten. So it's nice to see guys that I've grown up with, that I used to play lob league with, or in Boy Scouts with, or things like that. All the way going through now, playing high school football together, or just living life. And part of my life is fantasy football. And none of us, we were all Bears fans at one point in time when you're growing up, and then everybody kind of splits off and has their team or their guys or whatever. But as fantasy football comes along, the more leagues you play in, the more people you have, like so many shares of, or let's call it that. You do that kind of stuff, and you start liking more and more people. You're not fans of the Bears or the Bills or the Dolphins anymore. You're a Josh Allen fan, and you're a Saquon Barkley fan, or you're a you know whoever fan. So that it just everybody has their people, their players, and it's fun just going out having a couple of drinks, watching Red Zone with your buddies, and hopefully you're not playing them the week you are meeting up, so you don't have to bicker and piss about who's winning this week or how you got a big jump start or whatever the deal may be. So it's all in good fun. I just love it for the camaraderie with all the guys. Plus you get to meet all these new people. At the Fantasy Football Expo, at all the other places that you go to for charity leagues or events, the Scott Fish Bowl where I met you at, or it kicked off our friendship. That's what it's all about. Just kind of getting together, doing our thing. So
Yeah, and I think, like you said, like a lot of leagues I'm at home leagues with all the guys I played basketball and football and baseball growing up with. It's nice to still compete and kind of talk trash to each other and kind of get that, as you get older, you're not in sports anymore as far as playing them. So it's another way to kind of have that competitive, sports edge that you had when you were younger, especially when you, like you said, growing up with guys playing stuff since you were a kid and then getting in a league with them and kind of doing that I think is what makes it so special on a level, and it makes it so much fun.
yeah, Breeze, are you a dynasty or a redraft guy?
I'm more of a redraft guy, even though I do play dynasty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I think I'm in redraft leagues that are only for charity and stuff like that now. Like I can't. I do the Fishbowl and a couple other leagues that are if it's some European fantasy ball league, a couple other leagues that are just the playoff leagues are pretty fun where you can only start one player throughout the whole playoffs. Those are kind of fun. But I like I think I'm 100% like down the rabbit hole for redraft right now. So
yeah, so redraft for me, like John, I told you, I mean, I've been running one league for about 15, 16 years. It's a 2-player keeper league, but it's redraft outside the keepers. And I have an auction league that's keeper that I've been running for about 15 years as well. Those are my home leagues that I run with all my guys. But then I'm in a couple leagues that used to be run through bars until around here you're not allowed to run them through bars anymore, so they got moved to people's houses. But I've been in those leagues for 15, 16, 17 years in a lot of those leagues. So every year I'm like, do I want to stay in that league? And I'm like, I got to. I just been in it too long. It's too much fun. And I love the different scoring systems. I love the fact that I have to do a different strategy and redraft non-keeper than I have to do in a dynasty league. So for me, it keeps everything interesting. And I always tell people, like, well, aren't you always going against yourself if you have that many teams? And I'm like, I have so many different scoring systems, so many leagues that I can be successful with the same guys or different guys in a bunch of leagues. You don't have to only win one league and lose in another league. You can be successful doing different strategies, which that's part of the reason I like playing in a bunch of leagues in different formats. I love the strategy of it. I love how you don't always have to have the same strategy in every league. It's not about always having the best quarterback or the best running back and then you win or lose. So that's one of those things I like about the mental side of fantasy sports.
yeah. Breeze, you do any Debbie or DFS or the best ball or like what's your favorite part of this whole thing? Podcasting? You do any writing? That kind of stuff. What's behind Commissioner Breeze?
I love DFS. It's more so I find it challenging to see how I compare against the rest of the field in whatever sport it is that I'm playing. I got drawn to it about 7, 8 years ago. When what was that, FanDuel and DraftKings were heavily promoting their site, getting people to come on to join and see what it was about. So I haven't ventured off into the Debbie world yet. Maybe one day, but we'll see. I'm tied to so many leagues. It's just like when you know your limit, you know your limit. So
I wish I knew that. I wish I knew that limit thing that you're talking about.
Exactly. So I am in a couple of best ball leagues, dynasty best ball leagues. I like the fact that you can just pick your player, set it, and forget it. I do like that aspect about best ball. You ain't got to worry about figuring out who you want to play each week. It'll set it for you based on the matchup. So I do like that part about best ball. But out of those platforms that you mentioned, I prefer DFS the most.
Best ball is cheating, in my opinion. It's if you're not setting a lineup, that's sitting back and drafting a team and just walking away it's kind of BS, man. I'm 100% outside of the whole best ball thing. If it's not a lineup setting league, I don't want nothing to do with it, man.
Yeah, Jen, I always tell you, like, I used to only do best ball leagues that were charity leagues, and then I got into a couple actual best ball leagues. I was talking about the Scott Fishbowl live draft in Chicago that we met. I ended up getting in a dynasty best ball league with a couple guys that went in our league, and I actually really like it. There's still trades, there's still moves. You still do waiver wire pickups as opposed to a charity one where you just sit it and forget it. But I do kind of like that side of the best ball because if you're someone who can figure out how to get a deep roster and a deep team and kind of set your lineup up that way, you can still compete and be really good without having to necessarily have the best players, the one or two best players in the league. So I was kind of like, I don't know about this best ball thing. I like the draft, but don't have to. But I kind of, now that I'm in a ton of leagues, I'm appreciating best ball more, where you can get in a couple best ball leagues and not have to worry about setting the lineup every week.
Yeah, it's just just because you had K. Dot as your 32nd pick, and one day he scored 2 touchdowns and 50 yards. Like, get the fuck out of here, man! It's just so stupid.
That is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing when you have a million Paris Campbell. When you have a million Paris Campbell shares, and he finally has a big game, and you don't have to worry about starting him because he scores you a bunch of points on your best ball team. It's the greatest thing ever.
I want you to be pissed because you didn't play him that week. That's more fun to me, watching people like, motherfucker, I had this guy on my bench and I knew I should have started him this week, but I didn't do it. That's what I want to see, man.
Yeah, that was me. That was me with Zay Jones all season on all my teams. It's like, do I play Zay Jones this week or do I not? Do I play him? Do I not? Because I had him on I literally picked him up in every league. I traded him for every league. People were like, why do you want Zay Jones? I'm like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And I picked him up in almost every league. And then, of course, I didn't play him the last week where he had the monster game in the Scott Fishbowl, and it caused me to miss the semifinals.
There you go.
Because I didn't play Zay Jones. I was like, no, and it just crushed me. I would have made the top 100 if I would have played Zay Jones, but I didn't.
That's more fun to me watching people sitting winning a game and watching this guy say, "Wow, man, if you were a good commissioner, if you were a good owner, you would have started Zay Jones this week." But no, it's all right. You outsmarted yourself. You played yourself. So what's you said Breeze, you said you wish you would have started playing fantasy football earlier in life. What was your hobby before you got into fantasy football? What did you do before that for fun?
I still am a huge fan of cars. I used to go to the North American International Auto Show in Detroit every year because that's where all the coolest and new models or future models that to come out in the future. That's where it's going to be at in Detroit. So I used to every Sunday when I used to get the Sunday paper, I'll read through the pages with the cars that's for sale and understand what all the features meant, how they work, stuff like that. I could tell you what the price is, the brand, yada yada yada. But I was just a fan of cars, old school cars, newer cars, futuristic cars. still warming up on the idea because, they trying to make everything electric now. And, it's nothing like hearing the rumbling sound of a V8,
Yes, right.
Yeah, I'm a huge car guy. My family's always been into cars. My dad is a big Mopar guy. He owns a couple Cudas, uh, all kinds of different things. We had a Dodge Challenger, a 69 Challenger one year, just all kinds of stuff. I got a 77 Corvette, a 63 Cadillac. I'm a huge car guy, so I know exactly what you meant. Grew up around cars. When we talked about going out of town for vacation, we were going to a car show somewhere. That's what
Yeah.
my dad was all. We would go to car shows. I've been to Chicago Auto Show a bunch of times. I love going to Indianapolis. They have the Mecum auction. That thing is incredible. If you're a car person and you've never gone anywhere that has a Mecum auction, man, you got to check that out. Just some unbelievable cars, everything from 67 Shelby GT 500 to a Lamborghini. I mean, just some unbelievable machines. But man, that's my heart right there. Coming, my mom's family all grew up working in the Ford factories up in Michigan. And so we've always been huge cars guys in my family. So yeah, my favorite all-time car that I owned was a 1970 Boss 302 Mustang that I am so mad that I sold, and I want it back so bad. It hurts. I still got a picture of it on my wall, and I want it. One of these days I'm going to get enough money to buy it back.
Breeze, what's your favorite car?
I don't think I have a favorite car.
Somebody said, hey, listen, you got 10 seconds to tell me the name of a car, the year, the make, the model, the color, all that stuff here. It's going to happen, but you got 10 seconds. Spit it out right now. 10. 9.
Jaguar S-Type 2000.
There you go.
Jaguar is my favorite luxury car brand, and the S-Type was my favorite car from yesteryear. But today, I don't really have a favorite car, but my favorite cars is the S-Type, Mustang, and F-150.
I would get, you know what? I would pass up a 69 whatever with a 449 with double headers or whatever the fuck you guys. I would pass up all that stuff to get a 4-door Ford F-250 Super Duty diesel truck. Like that would be my dream car. I don't care about those cars. That my neighbor on the block, Phil, he works on cars all the time. And like every week he's pulling in a new transmission or putting new headers or putting this on. And I got to improve this. Oh, they came up with a new, more efficient this, that, and the other. It just means that he erases his cars and stuff. But I'm like, dude, you are just spending $100,000 a year on this car. And he's like, yeah, well, it's got to get better. I'm like, no, like it's a hobby, but it's not supposed to cost you your kid's tuition, to do it.
Yeah.
It's so expensive. I make money doing fantasy football.
Yeah, John, I would take a Ford GT40. That would be my car if I could go back. I would love a Ford GT40, the one they won the Le Mans with, the Gulfstream light blue, orange stripe up, number 4, number 6 on the hood. Oh, that car is my dream car. I have a million pictures of that in my office. I love that car.
I'd rather sit in my garage and drink beers and watch football than go to an auto show. I don't really care, That's not my cup of tea by any means whatsoever. So, Breeze, what's your favorite Sunday afternoon food when you're sitting back glued to the TV watching Scott Hanson on Red Zone?
Gotta have some wings. Hot, barbecue, don't matter. Gotta have some wings.
We went out yesterday, me and my son, he's home from college, and we went to this place called Jameson's in Joliet. And we got these fat ass shrimp. I mean, they were big. But then people came next to us and they got these shrimp. And there's a picture of them on my timeline from last night. I thought they were chicken legs. I'm like, are those chicken legs? Or the chicken legs with the kind of the breast built into it? I'm like, are those chicken legs? He goes, no, they're shrimp. They're called firecracker shrimp. I go, what? So there are prawns, but beer battered prawns and these things. It was like the size of my fist. These shrimp. I'm like, I already had a Reuben and 15 wings and 15 glasses of Blue Moon, so I couldn't eat anymore. But next time I go there, I definitely am going to be having those firecracker shrimp. They were fantastic. So, let's see, what is who do you want the Lions to get this year and why?
Without free agency playing out just yet, if it's just we just looking at the draft.
Yeah. Sorry.
I would love for them to go after Devon Witherspoon, cornerback out of Illinois. Everybody who are football fans know that our secondary was among the worst in the league last year, and it's an area of need. He's a physical corner who can, press up, play man, We need somebody who's going to be able to take on some of the better receivers that we're going to face each year, like a Justin Jefferson, for example. So that'll be a good start for us to addressing our defense, because our offense, we're good there. It's just the other side of the ball where we need to focus on so we can make the playoffs instead of just falling short before the start of the Green Bay game at Lambeau in Week 18.
What is the
Yeah,
problem with it?
I was gonna say, if anybody knows about Devon Witherspoon, it's me. I live right outside of Champaign. Went to a ton of Illinois games this year. He was an absolute beast. I mean, the guy just shut down everybody. He should have had actually a couple more picks this year that he got ripped on some bad pass interference calls and some penalties that took a few away. But he was an absolute shutdown guy. Everybody I talked to on Twitter is like, hey, what do you think about this guy? I'm like, he is the guy. He's the man. I mean, he is a great cover corner. I've seen a couple things where they're talking about maybe get Jalen Ramsey. Oh, man, if they drafted Witherspoon and got Ramsey, that secondary would be completely different for the Lions. I mean, you'd have two absolute lockdown guys on the outside. I think Witherspoon is a fantastic pick at 6 for the Lions if they can get him. I think he's just a dog. He comes up, he hits. He's not afraid to tackle. The guy, he's got that it factor in him. I just absolutely love him. I thought he was phenomenal for the Illini this year.
If you can get those two guys, pretty much at that point in time, it's all you got to do is worry about drafting later a couple of good defensive linemen to put pressure on a quarterback, or you got to get rid of the ball. I mean, I don't understand why the Lions are having a problem using DeAndre Swift. I don't get the whole situation there, but they have so many weapons on the offense. The defense is definitely a need for them. So I wish they would find out a way, for fantasy reasons, selfishly, and also for DeAndre Swift, selfishly. I want them to be able to use him like the running back that I think, and I think everybody else thinks that he could possibly be. So, we'll see what the Lions do. I am a Bears fan, even though I want them to just sell the team to somebody who gives a shit about the team instead of just money. It would be nice, but I love to see the Lions where they came from and where they're going to. Their path to relevancy is just. They're on the way to the moon right now with the way they're building the team. So I'm super happy for the Lions. I like anybody in like the NFC Central. It's the NFC North. I dated myself there by saying the Central. So the North. But yeah,
that's way back.
Way back in the day, right? So
the Lions also have some of the best color combination unis right now, are fantastic. They're talking about doing a new look coming up in 2024, and I saw a bunch of Lions fans getting real crazy. They're like, they better not mess with it. They better not make it some crazy looking, super new looking thing, like stay classic, which I'm one of those. I love their gray unis. I love those gray alternates.
Thank you.
I think they're freaking great. The only thing I think about is maybe throwing a different helmet with them as opposed to the silver helmet, but I love the gray on gray. I saw a matte blue hat online today on Twitter. Somebody's doing a matte blue with a silver. I was like, that would be a great color rush helmet. Be kind of sweet. But I've always been a big Barry Sanders fan, and like I said, my mom's family's all from Detroit area, Michigan. Always been Lions fan, so I've always kind of rooted for them. But man, I think they have some of the best unis in the game right now.
I hate when the Dolphins ruin their uniforms with that stupid fish on their helmet. It doesn't look like a dolphin. I like the old Patriots uniforms. I like the old Buccaneers uniforms. I like the only team I think when I was a kid, and I remember Ken Anderson playing in the Super Bowl, and they had Bengals written across their helmet. When they changed to that Bengals, the stripes on their helmet, that was the only uniform that actually got better with the change. The rest of them all, I don't like any of the new uniforms at all. I mean, the Broncos maybe, but that's questionable. But
while we're talking about uniforms, this is my biggest pet peeve is how the NFL teams are now putting team names as city names on the jersey, like their colleges. That drives me crazy. I like how the Steelers do a patch. If you want to do a patch on the jersey is one thing. But I hate how the Cleveland Browns say Browns on them, or Atlanta says ATL. I'm like, no, that's another one. You go those old school red helmets on the Falcons, those old school red helmets are legit. They are super cool. You do those with a white jersey with the black numbers, silver pants. I mean, that's a fantastic uniform combination.
Watching David Archer get killed by Richard Dent one day in a game was fantastic in those red uniforms. It was absolutely great. So, all right, we got to speed this up a little bit. But what Do you play in leagues with divisions, Breeze? When you run your leagues, do you have divisions in your leagues or no?
I got some leagues I run. We still have divisions, but what I've been doing over the past, I say 2 years now, I've been streamlining how I run my leagues because I've been listening to the feedback from league mates because I have 4 leagues that I run, and a lot of them now they're more open to just one division. I personally enjoyed the rivalries that came with the divisions. I'm cool either way with divisions or no divisions. I'm just all about doing what's going to make the league happy. That's what I'm about.
Yeah, I get it. I'm a division guy because we do everything in person. It's fun to make fun of, and we have a division draft every year too. Where if you win your divisions, you get to draft your opponents in your division the next year. So it adds a little bit. It's kind of like a shame, like when you get playing for dodgeball and you're the last guy picked. The kind of stuff like that.
Mhm.
So it's more fun for home leagues kind of stuff when you got divisions. I guess people that are on online leagues, I guess, wouldn't really don't get the point of a division. And I understand that, but what did you do in your leagues when the NFL switched when they turned to 18 leagues or 18 weeks? Did you what I did was I used a round or the week one as a division play all. So everybody played each other, and in a division, it's 4 divisions with 3 teams. Whoever scored the highest got a win. Whoever scored the lowest got a loss, and whoever scored in the middle got a tie. So 4 wins, 4 losses, and 4 ties is how we did week one, and they were all a third division game, which was easier for a tiebreak at the end of the year too. What did you do for your divisions when we went to week 18?
It was more so a schedule adjustment for me because, like I said, most of my leagues are just one division. So we just added the extra week, and tiebreakers is usually determined by points for or head to head, just depending on which of my leagues it is, and that's pretty much how I went about doing that.
Do you guys have a draft lottery for your losers bracket?
No lottery, but in the past, I did used to have certain criterias out there. For example, one year in my league, whoever finished in last place had to pay not only their league fee, but the Champions League fee for the following season.
Nice.
So it was a nice incentive to winning the league for that year. I kind of just mix and match when it comes to like playing with different concepts as far as how the league is responding to these ideas when it comes to what to do with whoever finishes last in the league or whoever finishes first in the league. Because I got another league, for example, where you finish is where you draft that for the following season. So if you finish in first, you draft first for the following season. Ironically, if you finish last, you draft last for that following season.
That's tough because it's hard to come back when you lose and you get the last pick too.
Yeah.
That's kind of rough. Do you award pick 113 or 213 for winning the losers bracket?
Repeat the question. I didn't hear you.
Do you get like an extra if you win the losers bracket? Do you get like an extra pick? Like in our leagues, it's an incentive to keep playing. If you win the losers bracket in a secondary losers bracket, if you win that, you get picked like 113 or 213 or something like some kind of reward for winning the bracket.
No, I don't have anything like that. I do have in my main league, if you win the consolation bracket, or it's called the toilet showdown, you get the first pick for the following year's draft. So it's some reason or incentive to keep playing, even though your season didn't go the way that you hoped for.
Yeah. Do you in your dynasty leagues? Do you have any trade deadline, or it's every day across the board, no matter what? Christmas Eve, Easter, Thanksgiving, whatever. It doesn't matter. Super Bowl Sunday. Like, do you trade all the time, or do you have a trade deadline?
Well, we don't have a trade. At least in my dynasty leagues, we don't have any trade deadlines, so we can pretty much trade whenever.
That's the way it should be. Yes, absolutely. What's your favorite site to play on? Yeah, Sleeper, MFL, ESPN, Flea Flicker. Like, who are you with?
Oh, he's got the kids for a second.
Oh,
So,
he's got the kids.
like I was gonna say, I'll say the same thing. So if I do redraft leagues or keeper leagues, I always try to do some kind of toilet bowl system where you either can win some money back or you get a better draft pick. You can win a higher draft pick the next year. So that's kind of how I usually handle things on my leagues I commish. I do love the idea of an extra first round, a pick at the end of the first round or pick at the end of the second round. If you win the toilet bowl in a dynasty league, I do one league where it's a head-to-head all the way through, and then if you win it, you get a 113 pick. I'm in another league where they just count overall points during the playoffs. So you just set a lineup in the playoffs, and whoever ends up with the most points in the league ends up getting the 213. Again, that's an IDP league, so that 213 is actually a pretty good pick because you have all the defenders and other players in there in a bigger league. So that 213 is actually pretty cool, and I like that idea of doing it total points. So instead of the head-to-head, you just add up your total points overall. But I always think teams got to have, whatever way you run your league, you got to have something so those teams that don't make the playoffs have some incentive to keep paying attention or make trades or do something. And I hate the automatic bombing where you just automatically try to sit guys and try not to do stuff to get the 1-1. So I want people to have to try to win that 1-1 in some form or fashion instead of just being like, I'm just going to tank for it and automatically get it. So that's just a pet peeve of mine, is just being able to sit like Jamar Chase because you've had a bunch of injuries and then you don't play in the last 3 weeks so you can get the 1-1.
Right. There's leagues that I was in that didn't have any of those kind of like restrictions, and that's why all my leagues that I started now have all that, a reward for doing the league. So
yeah, Bruce,
my
he was
daughter,
asking like which kind of your favorite formats to play on. Do you play on like
hold on,
ESPN, Yahoo, Sleeper? What's your favorite thing?
my daughter did 3 pull-ups today. She got a full scholarship. She got a full scholarship for lacrosse to the St. Ambrose University in Iowa. So now she's trying to get buff now.
Congratulations.
Very nice.
Her big
JT, to answer your question, it'll always be Sleeper for me. I just love the simplistic layout that they have. Just being able to navigate through different screens to, setting your lineups, to sending messages out. Of course, the chat box. I think that's probably my favorite part of the Sleeper platform. Is it connects everybody in the league through the chat. Whereas on Yahoo or ESPN, you might have to go to a separate page, to measure somebody, whatever the case may be. I love Sleeper's draft board. That's what really drew me to Sleeper. When the first time I got introduced to Sleeper and we were doing a draft, I like how they got the different colors by the positions. You can see who everybody has, who have a need at whatever position may be. You don't have that on Yahoo, ESPN, CBS, what have you. But yeah, I prefer Sleeper. It's just they always responsive to what the people want. They're real good at adding new features every year, being proactive to make their platform that much better.
Yeah,
I agree. I feel like they're the most. They're the one on top of it the most, for sure. I agree 100%. And I love that, like you said, on the draft board, you can see the different colors. So if I'm like wanting to draft a second QB and I realize everyone else, I can really quickly look and like, oh, everyone else has got a second QB. I can wait a round or two before I take my second QB. Or I tell you what, the feature I love is the mock draft feature on Sleeper, where you can go in and it takes your settings and you can actually puts you in the pick you have and whatever trade picks you have, and you can kind of mock.
My internet froze a little bit. Yeah, no, I get it. It's definitely my favorite site too. So I have all my leagues. I converted all of my leagues to Sleeper, so it's definitely my place to go. So what is do you have any what do you call it? Do you have waivers going all off season or just during the season? Like I know the trade deadline is one thing, but how about your waivers? Is your waiver wire open all year round too?
No, it locks for, I say, most cases 1 to 2 months. for the leagues that I'm in, because I don't run any dynasty leagues. All my leagues that I run are redraft. So usually like right after the fantasy season ends, to typically like early to mid February, that's when waivers are open back up.
Yeah, I mean, I run nothing but dynasty leagues, but even after that, I have waivers open until the Super Bowl. A week after the Super Bowl is the Wednesday following the actual NFL Super Bowl is when I lock my waivers, and then they don't start again until we do the rookie draft, and then there's a roster, and then we have to get down to 30 people per roster. Some people have 50 people right now because they got, they made a bunch of trades now, and they got, they accumulated one guy here, two guys there, three guys here, whatever, and then they got 10 guys on their IR, and it's like, all right, and then now they have 10 rookie picks too. And they have to import all these people. So now you have to get down to 30 people. And then 2 weeks after that, when everybody's absorbed who's on the waiver wire, then I open waiver wire with a brand new $1,000 budget. So it's fun when people really have to cut down to 30 people. I mean, 30 people sounds like a lot for a 12-team 30 round. It seems like a lot of people, but I can add 25 people that are on the waiver wire to my team right now. And I'm in a 12-team. I'm in a 14-team 30-man roster. And there's still guys on the waiver wire that I would love to have on my team right now that I can't. I don't want to cut guys for, but I'm like, he's got potential. He's got, but it is what it is. Like the Keyshawn Vaughns and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, they never really produce, but they still have a chance. They're so young. They it's guys I'd love to have. So it is what it is. But let's see.
Yeah, John, I was gonna say in my leagues, I kind of take a vote between the guys in the league to see what they kind of want to do. Because I'm in some leagues where guys are like they're on it every day, they're paying attention, they want to have waivers all year, and then I have other guys who are like, hey, like I'm doing stuff all summer, I don't have time for that, and so I'll do one in some of my dynasty leagues where I'll run one the first week of June after the rookie draft, and I'll run one first week of July, and then I'll run one first week of August until our season starts, and then I'll run regular waivers after that. So I always kind of adjust mine depending on kind of like my league mates, at least the leagues that I run, my league mates, and kind of what they prefer. Because I don't want guys to feel like they're getting gypped because like they're at work and they're not paying attention and the waivers go and they're like, I wanted that guy. So I always try, I'm one of those commissioners. I try to not hard line stuff. I want to adjust kind of the guys in the league and kind of what works for them too.
I've been in leagues where people's are analysts, and that's their only job is to sit back and do fantasy football, and they're in front of the screen all day long. And then I got guys who are police and firemen, and guys who are in construction, digging holes, and laying pipe underground, or working for ComEd in with no cell phones allowed on the job site, kind of stuff. So it's kind of BS when you have waivers and something happened, and some guy who's sitting in accounting on his computer all day is like, oh look, oh great, I'll just pick this guy up. Like that's. Even the daily waivers, because if it's 11 o'clock, that's right in the middle of the day when guys are doing stuff. So I just close it down until after the rookie draft. People are doing fantasy baseball and fantasy hockey, fantasy basketball and stuff too. So let them enjoy the off season, worry about those things. I don't want you to be half-assed in the league anyway and just kind of like, not just enjoy the other sports. It's okay. Football is not, the whole world doesn't revolve around fantasy football. Just enjoy the other sports, enjoy your kids, enjoy the family. I don't want to be in the Grand Canyon waiting for my waiver wire stuff, with my phone out instead of missing my family time, like I don't know. It is what it is. That's one of the things I'll never kind of, the summer, the off season is the off season. I like watching hockey. I love doing that kind of stuff. So, have at it. You do you, I guess, but all right. So real fast, we're going to do, I'm going to fly through some, give me your opinion on it. Say if you like it, if you love it, if you don't want it, or just kind of what your settings are. So are you a full PPR guy?
I like it.
Yeah, real fast. JT.
Sorry, I love myself. I'm a full PPR guy. I play in a couple 0.5 PPR leagues, but all the leagues I run full PPR.
Yeah, tight end premium 0.75, or is that too much, too little?
It's fine.
I do 0.5 if I can. I'm in a couple leagues that are really fighting that tight end premium, but I'm like trying to make the tight end worth a little something more because it's just like, if you don't have any premium, it's like those guys there's no reason to even draft them unless you have Kelsey or Andrews. So especially my redraft home leagues, I've been really fighting to get a tight end premium for the last couple of years.
I think 0.75 should be the minimum for a tight end premium. That's just because of the fact that it makes. Yes, I understand if you have Kelsey, if you have Kittle, or if you have Andrews, it's such a cheat code. But other than that, the tight ends are almost irrelevant if you don't have a premium for their scoring. So
you want those guys to be relevant. You don't want people in your league feeling like why why even draft a guy? You don't want it to be completely irrelevant. I feel like if you don't have any premium, it's almost irrelevant.
Could you imagine being in a start two tight end league? Like I would just punch myself in the face every week, like having to start a lineup.
Dude, the start two tight end leagues are brutal. I'm in like one, I think, one or two, and it's like the trades guys make for some of these players. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just traded that. They're like, but I got to start a second guy. So I was in a start two tight end startup last year, and I took Kelsey and Muth from Pittsburgh like early because I was like, I'm not going to be one of those guys dying trying to play, Dalton, Smythe from Miami as my second tight end every week. I'm like, I'm just not, Durham Smythe. Sorry, not Dalton. Didn't mean to mess up his name, but yeah, I'm like, I don't want to play that guy as my second guy in my starting lineup every week. So yeah, those two tight end premiums, two tight end starts are rough, man.
So some people put like a full point per carry, but I like a 0.1 point per carry. Are you okay with a 0.1 point per carry, Breeze?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. It kind of just add value to the running back position, especially if it's like in a super flex league that's attached to that. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, the Derrick Henrys and the Nick Chubbs and stuff like that. Those guys.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I've been pushing for a 0.25 of late in most of my leagues, like a 0.2 or a 0.25 to kind of make those carries. Plus, if you get those guys, some of the guys are like third down backs. Mm-hmm. If they could get 5 or 6 carries and you can get like a little bit of points for that, kind of, boost their value a little bit. If you got like a Jerick McKinnon who's going to catch passes, but get like 4 or 5 carries too. So I've been kind of pushing guys to get that, at least something 0.1, 0.2, 0.25. I think it makes, helps the running backs count for a little bit more. With the way the game's working right now.
Yeah, it stabilized their floor to an extent.
What about point for first down, rushing or receiving, or even passing?
I love that. That's my favorite right there.
It is nice, isn't it? It's great.
I think it's good because, if you can get a wideout, you get a guy that's always catching third down passes for first down. So you get a running back. Hey, he only got 1 yard, but man, he got a crucial 3rd and 1. That should count. Like they got the box stacked, the box stacked, and like he's getting that yard. That's a huge play in a real life game. That's why I like those first down yards because those first downs are the biggest thing. Those keep drives alive.
Like 0.1 or 0.25 or something like that, point per target or carry or pass attempt.
Yeah. I usually usually 0.5 for carry or sometimes 0.75 for a reception, just depending on the league and what the people want. But that's just me.
Yeah. Kickoff and punt return yards or touchdowns individual.
I like it. It's a cool feature to have. It as an element to certain players who, not only play receiver but also return punts as well. I know players like
Antonio Brown was like a cheat code.
Yeah, exactly. Like Antonio Brown. I know Tyreek Hill had done it, earlier in his career.
Yeah.
So it adds a different element to your draft strategy. Who you might want to previously considering, but now you add this into that fold. You can maybe draft him a round or two earlier in a later round.
Braxton Berrios almost won me a championship last year because of his punt return touchdown.
Yeah, I'm love it. I'm all for kick, punt, return yards. Anything that happens in a real game that helps, I love it. Tyreek Hill almost won me a championship. I think it was his rookie year or his second year, and he wasn't even catching that many passes, but he had so many running plays, kick return, punt return. He was piling up points. It was great.
Passing touchdown should be worth 4, 5, or 6 points.
I like 5. I know some people on the 4, on the 6 side. It don't bother me none, but I think I like 5. It's right in the middle.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, I believe that 4, 5, 6. I just always say if it's going to be 6, people got to be aware of how much more quarterbacks score than everybody else. And I'm in leagues where people are like, I want the quarterback to score more than everyone else because I think they're the most important. And I'm like, all right, that's fine then. So I just got to be aware. I do all of them, so it just depends on your league setting.
Bonuses for 102 yards rushing and receiving. Like when you get Derrick Henry gets 200 some yards, like you should have a big bonus for that. Do you like him first of all? And if so, what do you have his settings set for?
I love that. There should be a bonus in place when your players grinding for you. It's one thing to watch your players. He have 12 carries for 75 yards. And he's like, dang, I'm only getting 7 points from him. Then boom, get a big play, 30-yard, play. Now you get the 3 yards plus, you get an extra 1 or 2 points, and that's pretty much his floor for that week. So I like it.
Yes, absolutely. So I wish it was. That's the only thing I like about MFL is their passing and rushing and stuff because you get like a .01 points for rushing. So if you get like 99 yards, you're still getting like 5.9 points instead of a 0. So when you hit the 100 point threshold, you don't just automatically get 6. It should be like I wish Sleeper would add that to their platform where you get like incremental points as you go up. As guys score yards. That's the only thing I don't like about Sleeper.
That
What
was the
about
biggest, my biggest problem with ESPN. They never did any kind of decimal scoring, and it drove
yeah,
me
right.
insane that they never fixed any kind of decimal scoring on ESPN. It's driving me crazy.
Yes, ESPN. I used to love ESPN. That was my platform to
It
go
was
to.
my favorite. Yep. It was
And
my
now,
favorite forever. Now I'm like, I'm trying to talk every league I have into getting off ESPN.
yeah, yeah, it's come a long way. What about passing? Like 3, 4. There's another thing: 3 or 4 or 500 yards. How many points did you get for those kind of bonuses? And Sleeper doesn't have a 500-point bonus, which there are 500-point games. I'm not understanding why they don't have that in the scoring option. And again, they should have tiered scoring, like or incremental scoring also, instead of just a 3, 4, 500-point bonus. Or they only have a 3 and a 400-point bonus anyway. I feel like a 300-point minus just the fields, a 300-point game, 300-yard game should be like the norm nowadays for most quarterbacks. So what about that?
No, I like the bonuses for the quarterback. We all know it's a passing league, so it's almost, I want to say by default, but in a given week, 300 yards should be pretty attainable. But then again, that's just depending on who your quarterback opposition is. But I think the quarterback should be rewarded for reaching, that 300 or 400-yard threshold, in my opinion.
You are
Yeah, I feel
correct.
like I was looking at this the other day and I was thinking, okay, 300, most guys throw for 300. And then I was like looking through a bunch of guys' stats from last year, and there was a ton of guys who were not even close to throwing for 300 yards most weeks. And there was a lot of, even Patrick Mahomes, who had a monster year, had a ton of weeks where he only threw for like 240, 245. And so I was kind of like, am I giving too many points for 300 yards? And after I looked at that, I was like, nope, I definitely need to keep giving those major bonuses for 300 yards because there's so many guys who aren't hitting it. And if you look at over-under spreads, they used to be closer all to like 285, 298. Man, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are sitting like 225, 240. So I definitely think that 300 should still count, even though we see more passing game than we ever had before.
Yeah. There's a lot of mediocre quarterbacks in the league that yes, and running the ball, dual purpose quarterbacks are kind of taking over the league now, and that's a good thing. I love having quarterbacks that can run the Josh Allens and the it's funny because I like Dan Marino, who he probably had like minus 12 rushing yards in his entire career, that kind of stuff. But I also love Steve Young and guys like I love watching Michael Vick play. That was like it was like watching a magic show, watching Michael Vick play. I love that guy, and it was and watching guys like who ran a little bit, like Tim Tebow had a little bit, but John Elway ran, Steve Young, guys like that, guys who could bring an extra purpose, an extra run to the extra, whatever you call it, a third element to the game.
Yeah.
It's fantastic to watch that, and I love that the NFL is going that way with these quarterbacks that are multidimensional.
Yeah, John, you posted the other day something on Twitter about Dan Marino. I think Dan Marino would absolutely crush with the rules that are today. And
man.
a guy I also think one of my favorite guys who I think would be perfect in this day and age, Randall Cunningham. I think Randall Cunningham in this day and age would just absolutely murder his running ability, the way he throws through the deep ball,
right.
With the way they've kind of changed the game. Randall Cunningham, unbelievable career in his own right. But man, you put Randall Cunningham right now on a team in his prime. The guy would just absolutely be phenomenal.
Yeah, I like it. I like dual threat quarterbacks. Not a guy like Justin Fields who runs and has got games that aren't even at 200 yards. The guy's only got 200-yard games last season. It's like, dude, come on. Like, I understand the running aspect of the game, but you got to be a dual threat quarterback. One, either you're a running quarterback or you're a throwing quarterback or you're a dual threat quarterback. That's kind of the thing. I understand that the Bears didn't have a lot of a lot of help for Justin Fields. But like I said before, Daniel Jones had worse receivers in the playoffs than Justin Fields did. And he still threw for a 300-yard game in the playoffs. So against a team that the Bears play twice a year in the Vikings. So there's no excuse why Justin Fields shouldn't have better stats than what he had. And those are professional athletes catching the ball just like everybody else. I understand it's not Justin Jefferson, but you got to make throws to get guys open. But anyway, rant over.
Talk about Fields. I think watching his tape and what he did, I mean, I think there was a drastic difference from the end of the year to the beginning of the year. I mean, he was missing at the beginning of the year. I mean, wide open guys in the NFL. I mean, on slants and crossing routes. He vastly improved once he got a little more comfortable at the end of the year. He passed the ball. If you look at the last 6 games compared to like the first 6 games, it's night and day him passing. I think he has high upside going into next season, especially if they can add some talent at the wide receiver core, get Mooney back from injury. Claypool, hopefully they can work with him a little bit. I'm a love-hate guy with Claypool. I think he's got so much talent, but he drives me crazy with some of the stuff they do. But if they can add 1 or 2 more elements, I think he actually has a shot to really improve and make a huge leap as a passer next year.
But I don't know that they're going to get like Josh Allen got Stephon Diggs, and Jalen Hurts got 2, all-star caliber wide receivers for him. I'm not sure the Bears can surround Justin Fields with receivers that are going to make a difference for him. That's the problem. If you have a bunch of number 2 receivers, I would say number 3 receivers almost at that point in time, will he be able to make that step with that? Because a quarterback should be able to bring guys. He should be able to elevate his receivers around him also. You don't need a receiver to elevate yourself. Your quarterback's got to be able to throw guys open, make the players better. Is Justin Fields going to be able to make average guys better going forward?
I think if y'all can give him better protection on the offensive line, that'll make a huge difference into seeing Justin Fields progress as a quarterback. Because if he's running for his life all the time, of course his passing yards are going to be down because every time you look up, there's pressure in his face. So I think if the Bears can address that offensive line, be it the draft or free agency, even if they don't get, let's just say hypothetically a T. Higgins was available through trade. They don't get nobody like them, but they can address that line. I think that'll make a big difference when you can get 2-3 seconds in the pockets to read down the field to see who's actually open instead of having 3 or 4 defenders in your face and you got to scramble just to make a play to even look downfield.
I get it. I'm not on a Hughes train. I want to see a production, man. I don't want to. There's the Bears actually had like the PFF like number 12 rated offensive line last year, so it's not like they were absolutely terrible. And there was plays when Justin Fields had a wide open pocket and just missed guys. And I know he did better in the end of the season, but he had games under 100 yards passing. So you can't do any worse than that. So I get it. He improved, but he's got a lot of improvement to do. But anyway, we got to move on. We're not talking about Justin Fields all day because I'm going to get mad if we do.
Sorry, my bad, John. I just got in there. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Auction startup or snake draft? For Breeze,
I like auction.
Yeah. I'm terrible at auction. I laugh at JT about all the time. Auction's so much more fun, but I'm just absolutely terrible at it.
Well, I told you, like I always say that it's like, hey, snake draft. You can always I can almost look at my snake draft and figure out who's going to pick who when and have a pretty good idea who I'm going to get if you strategize correctly. Auction draft, like I said, you never know who's going to get thrown up at what time, how much money people are going to have left in their budget. I mean, auction is just, it's a free-for-all. I mean, you just never know. Maybe you're a guy who waits, doesn't spend money on anybody, and crushes at the end of the draft because you have money and no one else does, and you just buy up all the guys at the end. But maybe you're like, at the end, you're like, I should have spent $5 more on, Justin Fields because now I'm sitting on my QB is Ryan Tannehill, and I'm like, crap, I should have spent more money on him. But that's why you just never know. Where I feel like snake draft is a lot easier to kind of predict where somebody's going to end up. So that's to me is the 2 huge differences in strategy.
Why don't you get off my boy Tannehill, okay? He did all right when he's healthy.
I'm debating trading for him in a super flex league that I've literally spent 5 years trying to find a second QB in this league. Every time I trade for a guy, he gets hurt, retires, or gets benched. I just literally, my team's riddled with Darnold, Baker Mayfield. I had Ben Roethlisberger, Taylor Heineke. I mean, it's been brutal. So I was like, all right, who wants to trade me a QB for a 2025 first? And at this point, my very first offer was Ryan Tannehill for a 2025 first. I was like, I'm thinking about it. So it's like, I don't hate Tannehill, but man, it's like some of these super flex leagues, man, I'm just dying for a second QB.
Last year, I traded up to get Malik Willis, and I traded up to get Zach Wilson, and I had Baker Mayfield as my quarterback. So that's my three. It's an absolute shit show on my roster right now. So,
Oh, John, that hurts.
You have no idea how much it hurts. You have no idea how much it hurts, especially when you wasted draft capital to move up to get guys. So I don't know. It is what it is. But you like so JT, how many of your leagues are in person leagues?
So most of my in-person leagues are all, like I said, the home leagues I run. So I do. Even now, it's tough to get guys to show up for in-person drafts. The wives, the kids, get everybody on the same weekend. I'm like, hey, we can do this Sunday. We can do this Saturday. They're like, oh, I got Sunday baseball. I got soccer. It's very, very tough the older you get to get guys in. I mean, it was not even a problem 15 years ago. And now, obviously, it's tough. So I would say I'm in about 25, 26 leagues currently. I'd say probably 5 of those are in-person drafts. And even now, I have to do in person where we do it still online. A lot of times, where a couple guys can do it online just because they can't make it. But my favorite thing is to go to the bar, set it up. Obviously, I usually do it at my place, at my brewery or whatever, or my barbecue restaurant. We'll get a board out. We get one of the girls that waitress there, and we have her be the draft girl, and she writes all the names on the board, and everybody sits on the back patio together and drafts. I mean, that's my favorite thing to do. It's getting increasingly harder to get that to work every year, though.
I feel like it's a younger man's game or it's an older man's game. Like in the middle of the road when you got two and three kids and you're coaching football and coaching basketball and coaching this and that, and you're busy all the time. It's hard. A lot of these fantasy analysts they have no kids, they have no wife, they have it's younger kids living in mom's basement with nothing but time to write articles and stuff. It is tough to have home leagues when you're Breeze. How many of your leagues are home leagues?
5.
5. So I think that's kind of like I think I'm gonna have 6 this year. I dropped a couple dynasty home leagues because guys, just there's some fights going on, some in-person stuff, some I think after when you have too close of friends and too close of people that are together, everything's a problem after a while, and it's like, oh, and then somebody's not active, and somebody this and that, and people can start bitching. Some of the leagues you can just tell that it's got to go. Like we ran the course now; it's not fun anymore. That kind of stuff. So those guys can leave and join their own dynasty leagues, or they're just done. Some people are just done with fantasy football because this league's been going on for 9 years, 10 years, and now it's dynasty, but I don't have time to do a in-person rules meeting and then an in-person draft, and then I can't. Sundays are church in the morning, and then after that you got to go to my son's football game and then my daughter's basketball game, and I can't look my lineup, and I miss half the time set my lineup. So life changes sometimes for people. It is what it is. Priorities aren't always fantasy football sometimes. For me, it is now because my kids are all old and my wife is at work all the time. So it's great.
I mean, that's the one thing, the good technology, and that's where I feel like Sleeper has really come through, as they've been able to make things as easy as possible to do stuff online. I know Breeze was talking about it earlier, but man, the chat feature on Sleeper is by far the best. I'm on a ton of MFL leagues, and I have 57 group me chats that I'm trying to follow and figure out who's talking to who and what's going on. And it's so much easier to be in that group chat where everything is on one page. You can look at the group chat. You can immediately, push it down and go into trades or whatever else is going on. I think that's the best feature by far, because MFL, anyone who's in a big MFL league has to have a group chat on GroupMe, because there's no way to talk to people on MFL. It's a nightmare. So that's a huge feature that I think they got over ESPN. My home leagues, we still have a text chat, like text group. Yeah. And I'm like, man, it'd be way easier if we actually, because then what happens is we get going in a debate and everyone's like, I'm trying to sleep. Yeah. You guys my phone's blowing up. And it's like way easier to do that stuff on like an actual chat page like Sleeper. So I think that's something everyone's going to have to get on, because it just makes everything better.
Yeah. Breeze, what advice would you give somebody who wanted to take the leap from being just a player to a commissioner?
I would say don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to try different things out because the only way you're going to get better or, transition seamlessly into being a commissioner is asking people, what it is that you want in this league. Because at the end of the day, as a commissioner, you are setting the tone for your league mates in regards to the settings, uh, what type of language that you want to be allowed. If anybody have any, gripes, questions, concerns, they should be able to come to you and not, be ashamed to do that. So that's my position on that.
Last question. Do you have people helping you out in your leagues? Like, do you have a money collector guy, a financial secretary? Do you always use like League Safe for all your leagues, or and then on top of that, like, what does it take for you to throw somebody out of your league? Like, what would someone have to do? Like, have you thrown anybody out first of all, and second of all, like, how much when you're commissioner? What's like the line where it's like I've just had enough? When is enough from somebody?
So for me, when somebody takes my kindness for weakness, I have to kick you out. For example, anybody who knows me or who are in leagues with me know I'm pretty flexible. I know life happens, things come about. So generally speaking, when commissioners uh, prepare for the upcoming season, they would like for all the money to be collected before you draft. But then again, there are situations where things come up. I get it. Let's communicate. Let's work something out so we can get to the end goal is making sure that all the monies are being collected. All I ask for as a commissioner is that the communication is open to all my league mates who know me. Communication is a thing for me. So um, I don't have any helpers to answer your question about that. I do everything, myself. I use League Safe. In the past, I used to go through PayPal, sometimes Cash App, but I know they've really cracked down on those sites in regards to sending money, for fantasy
Right.
football purposes. So League Safe is the way to go for those who are listening. Just do League Safe. Don't. It could be a hassle. I've heard countless stories of people uh, who lost their money when it came to getting paid out because they itemized on why what are you sending this money for on PayPal or
Right.
Cash
Yeah.
App, for example.
Yep. That's I've heard the same
I,
thing. So
I was going to say the same thing. A lot of guys I know that run other leagues, that is the number one complaint of commissioners I know is trying to collect money so that you can pay everybody out, so you don't have to pay everybody out of your own pocket and you lose money. I know I've run leagues where I've lost money. I've won the league and I lost money because I couldn't get enough guys to pay in, get the money, trying to run people down all year is a huge pain. I think that's the biggest number one problem for running a league. League safe, it is kind of a pain to set up, but I think you're right. Most of my leagues are league safe, and once you get those going, I think it's just the best way to go, so that people don't have to worry about. You have like a record; it shows right there you paid at a certain time, did all that. But I know they take out a percentage, they do all that. But as a commission, I think you have to like start protecting yourself these days, especially with how much money some of these leagues are bringing out. And I've done it where I've done it on the friend level for years, where I'm like, oh, just pay me at the draft. They're like, oh, I don't have it. Can I get you later? And then it just ends up being it rolls over, and then you're like, oh, a year. Like, hey man, I still need your $100. Still need your $100. And then you add that if you do 5, 6, 7 leagues, now you're running down 10, 12, 15 people for $1,000, $1,500. It's a huge pain. So yeah, I'm definitely trying to move all my leagues that we usually just show up at draft and pay. I'm trying to move everybody to league safe just to protect myself. I think you're right on that. It's almost the way you have to go these days.
yeah, I got a financial secretary to do in every league, a different person in every league that does the collecting money for me. It's a pain in the ass. They do it, and I give them a little bit. I duke them at the end of the year for, hey, thanks for doing all this stuff. 10% of league, stuff like that. It is what it is. It's well worth it to have somebody doing that kind of stuff for you. It sucks having to go on a message board all the time or text somebody 1,000 times or dude, what the hell? It's almost like ruins of friendships sometimes. When you got to chase somebody down for money. It's terrible. But all right, so those are. Go ahead.
Hold on, John. I was gonna say too, like when it comes to like the money, like it's not personal, it's business. We all got a job to do. We uh spend a lot of time, getting ready for the season. Our blood, sweat, and tears to make sure everything is ready from league outline, uh, upcoming changes to the league itself. Getting everybody up to speed as to what's going on. How's everybody been doing, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, because I had to actually kick somebody out just to go back to the question you asked previously, John, last year, because I exhausted every communication, um, pathway possible, and still couldn't reach the guy for whatever reason. So I take personally. Like when I reach every, phone, email, calling, texting, and still nothing. Yeah, then I take that personally, and I gotta kick you out.
Yeah, you're wasting my time.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's like you're trying to do good, you're trying to run a good league, you're trying to make everybody have fun, and then people are just putting you in a bad spot. It's the worst because I mean, you want to run a good league, you want everything to be fun. You don't need the stress of like trying to run somebody down. And I actually had this conversation with someone who ran our NBA league I used to run, and I said sometimes you just got to make an executive decision as a commissioner for the best of the league. Like maybe everybody's not going to vote on it. Maybe they're going to do that. But like to make the league run as well it is, sometimes as a commish, you got to step in, no vote, no nothing, and be like, hey, we're making this change because we got to do it because it's causing problems in the league. So I think sometimes as a commish, you got to look at that too and say you want to be as fair as possible. But as a commish, part of your job is to make sure the league is running and stays relevant. And if people are causing problems and it's an issue, you gotta take that on as yourself as the commission. Say, hey, I'm making this change no matter what.
Yep. All right. So that's enough for the commissioner questions here for today. I think I racked your brain enough. So we're going to go through some news and rumors around the NFL. The Bears haven't made a move yet. What do you think they're going to do as far as the number 101 pick? What do you get more for? Do you get more for the 101 or Justin Fields? Breeze, these are real fast. Like try and like just say this, we're going to try and get through all 32 teams in 10 minutes. So
I think I'd rather have Justin Fields right now. I mean, when I look at this quarterback class for 2023, I think it's a decent class. It's not the strongest class in my opinion. And I think any quarterback that's coming out this year, I don't think they're better than Justin Fields, in my opinion.
All right. I'm like 50-50 on the whole thing. So, JT, T. Higgins to the Bears or no?
Bengals GM said there's no way they're trading T. Higgins. I don't think it's ever happening unless the Bears give up an insane number of picks that they're not going to give up. So T. Higgins is on the Bengals next year.
Breeze, what offensive additions would you like to see go to the Bills?
I think they need a running back. I also think they can use another receiver to go with Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, it scares me because I have.
Don't kill Shakur. Don't kill him for.
I know.
I got Shakur. God, he loves Shakur. He's got him everywhere.
I do. Yes. All right, Breeze or JT Broncos with Russ. Do you prefer Sutton or Judy?
Oh, I think Sutton deep with Russ, the way he throws the ball is great. I think Judy is due for a huge upgrade. I just traded him in a league because I needed a QB bad, but I just think Judy is just set to have a big year.
I think Russ throws a bunch of moon balls, and I'd rather have Sutton in reality. So that's where I'm at. Breeze, Browns, is David Njoku a top 10 or top 8 tight end next season, you think?
I think so. With Watson, going to have a full off season to acclimate himself, into the scheme, into the offense with Kevin Stefanski. I think that's going to pay dividends for David Njoku. We've been clamoring for all these years for David Njoku to be a thing. And, this past year, we saw flashes of that here and there. But I do believe going into this 2023 season that Njoku going to be set up for a nice year.
Yeah. JT, Buccaneers, is Tom Brady going to be a better announcer than Greg Olson?
I actually like Greg Olson. I think Tom Brady can be better than Tony Romo, but I actually think Greg Olson's done a pretty good job. I mean, he's been real solid. I mean, I always look at it. Some guys do really great stuff, but the bottom line for me is, are you annoying? Do you say crazy stuff that just annoys people? And he doesn't. Greg Olson's real solid. I like him.
He is good. Breeze, any way the Cardinals draft a quarterback and trade Kyler Murray in the future next year?
I don't think so.
No, it's rumorville. These are the news and rumors. JT, Chargers. Did the Chargers add some offensive weapons for Herbert early in the draft?
Here's the guy I think would just be phenomenal for them. If they could somehow, I don't think he falls this far. There's no way they get him, but I think JSN would be just awesome on the Chargers. The guy finds the gaps. He beats one-on-one. He doesn't have to beat you downfield because they got deep threats. I mean, I think he would absolutely crush on the Chargers. They could get him. I don't know if he'll fall that far, but I think for fantasy purposes, if I'm drafting 1-4, 1-5, oh man, I'm begging that the Chargers get JSN because I'm all over him at that point.
He seems to be kind of a favorite to land everywhere. Everybody, that's kind of the Twitter darling right now. I'm more of a Quentin Johnson kind of guy. So
here's the thing: is I made this comparison the other day. I think JSN is like a more like higher end, better Cooper Kupp. I just think he plays like Cooper Kupp. He finds those things, but he's got a better pedigree. He's a higher end guy. I mean, Cooper Kupp's been great. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, Cooper Kupp's amazing. But he reminds me of Cooper Kupp. He really does, as a guy that's a 5-star coming out of high school, as opposed to Cooper Kupp. So I know that's high praise and to throw on him, but I mean, I think that guy, if he gets on the right team, man, I just think the sky's the limit for him.
All right. A Breeze, can the Chiefs repeat next year?
Anything's possible, as Kevin Garnett says, but we just got to see how free agency and the draft play out. But they can definitely do it again.
JT, Colts, your guys, they trade for number 1 pick or they hold tight?
I hope they hold tight, man. I would love to see him get CJ Stroud at 4. If they trade to 1, I want to see him trade to 1 to get CJ Stroud. If they don't do that, I'd rather just have him sit pat. I don't want him to give up the house to move up, but that's just me personally.
Breeze, Cowboys, is Dak trending up or down at this point in his career?
Oh, wow. I'm going to say he might be trending on the downside of his career. I know a lot of people make a big deal about Kellen Moore, but I think that was a bigger loss for the Cowboys than people think, because I know with Mike McCarthy, I think set to call plays for next year. I know that the pace of play is going to go down, and that's a downgrade for potentially your CeeDee Lambs, Michael Gallups, Jalen Tolbert, if and when he ever get back on the field.
I'm a believer.
But I totally agree. If you saw the McCarthy quote, that was the big thing. He's like, Kellen Moore wants to put up stats and score points. I want to rest my defense. I'm like, yeah. I was like, this is scary for Dallas, people that have Dallas players on offense going in the future. McCarthy wants to slow it way down. That scares me for fantasy production.
Yeah. JT, anyway, Tua stays healthy next year?
Oh, man, I'm hoping so. I've traded for him in so many leagues because so many people are down on him. I know John is the king to a hater. He can't stand him. So I'm going to offer you, if you have him in any league, I'm going to trade you for him. But I'm hoping so, man. I'm hoping every time he gets hit, it seems like he falls the weirdest way every time. I don't know. So hopefully they can figure that out. But I'm hoping he stays healthy at least for 1 year to see what he's totally got.
Yeah, he's in Bruce Lee camp of martial arts right now, trying to learn how to fall. So we'll see if that helps at all. But good. I don't want to see anybody get hurt ever. But
you got to tuck the neck, man. You got to tuck and roll.
Tuck and roll. That's right. He should go to parachute camp or something like that. Learn how to fall. Breeze, Eagles. Do the Eagles have a Super Bowl hangover next year?
It's possible. I mean, you gotta look at they lost a lot of personnel on the coaching side. Their offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen, head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, defensive coordinator, Gannon, Arizona Cardinals head coach. I think that in itself is going to have an effect on the Eagles for next year. I mean, we look at the Rams who won the Super Bowl last year. They missed the playoffs this year. I mean, granted, they had, injuries or whatnot, but I do think there could be a hangover with the Eagles for next year.
And losing a lot of defensive players too. That's another.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get
Miles
it. Yeah,
Sanders too.
yeah. I think running backs are a lot more replaceable than good defensive backs, in my opinion.
Yeah, for
But I
sure,
get
for
it.
sure.
I get it. Uh, JT 49ers. Lance Purdy, or Lance or Purdy? Who starts?
Oh man, that's the question I think is going to be all off season because I think if the Niners had a dead like legit starting quarterback, I think everyone would be picking them to be in the Super Bowl. That defense is amazing. They've got all the talent around them, especially adding CMC. We know he's my man crush. I love CMC. He's my guy. But they got everybody there. Purdy, man, does he have surgery? Does he miss half the year? Does he start? Lance coming off the leg injury. That's going to be the biggest thing all year. I think if I had to say right now, put money on it, I say Lance starts the season, and Lance is the guy unless he just absolutely falls apart, and then they put Purdy in. Because if Purdy was healthy, I think Purdy starts the season. I don't think he'll be healthy.
No, in reality, the reports are out right now that his arm is still too swelled up to even do surgery, even the minor version of surgery, let alone the major version of surgery. So, I don't think, and I think Purdy's got limitations. Where I think if you unleash Trey Lance and he's actually, he can actually throw the ball accurate on these slant passes, this quick hit offense. That multi-dimension of what Trey Lance brings to the offense, I think, is way more important to the 49ers moving the football downfield. And the defense does its job all the time. They have a great defense. If you can control the offense and get the defense on the field for 3 and outs, I think Lance is a better option long term. But that's
Yeah, I mean, if you can go run that RPO with Lance and
yes,
Debo,
right.
oh my gosh. I mean,
Yeah.
that just seems like a scary, scary offense and just
yeah.
fantasy gold. I mean, that looks like fantasy gold.
Yeah, I'd take Lance 10 times over Purdy in reality. I know Purdy keeps the ball moving, is accurate, that kind of stuff, but I want to see the offense at its full potential. And I don't think Purdy can do that. So, Kamish, Giants, is Daniel Jones the future, or are they going to sign a long-term contract soon?
I do think they will get a deal done. I don't think it'll be $45 million that Daniel Jones asking for, but I do think they'll get a deal done because there was some growth that we saw from Daniel Jones this past season under a coach who developed the likes of Josh Allen. So I'm actually excited for him. I think he's a player that you should be going out to get in dynasty right now because if they get a legit wide receiver there, no pun to Kenny Galladay, I think that could really raise Daniel Jones' ceiling for 2023.
I'm not a humongous Daniel Jones fan, but I do like I could see him elevating with a coach that came from the making Josh Allen relevant, and you could see the strides that Daniel Jones is making. I am trying to trade for him right now, but I think that the cat's out of the bag on his development and his what they're going to do. They're definitely going after wide receiver, but they have a lot more things to fix than just wide receiver on the Giants team. So,
Well, they're a team. I mean, if anybody wants to make excuses about weapons, I mean, you should be making excuses for Daniel Jones about weapons. I mean, that offense outside of Barkley was just anemic. I mean, they had
garbage.
nobody. I mean, absolutely nobody. So I just think if you're going to make excuses for guys, I think you got to make an excuse for Daniel Jones. He played pretty well with just garbage. And as a KG fan in the past on the Lions, I'm hoping he signs with the Rams and Matt Stafford can figure out how to bring him back to life because KG has murdered me on a bunch of fantasy teams the last 2 years. So hopefully he gets a chance somewhere else and he figures out how to play football again.
I think you spelled Baker Mayfield wrong, dude. That's
I know you're a Baker guy. You love Baker.
Baker, the touchdown maker. I wish he'd do that. But all right, Breeze, Evan Ingram getting the franchise tag. I think that was reported today, so that he is getting the franchise tag. So that was the question I had written on here. Do you think the Jaguars will draft another running back to go in tandem with that offense? in the backfield?
I mean, it's always possible. I mean, considering you finding gems fifth, sixth, seventh round. Look what the Chiefs did this past season. Got Pacheco in the seventh round, so it's always possible. But I don't think they would draft to where it would siphon the touches of Travis Etienne. But it's definitely possible they could do that, but not in the early rounds.
Yeah. JT, did the Jets bring in a veteran quarterback, trade for one, or just stick with Zach Wilson?
Man, I can't believe the Zach Wilson. I mean, I've never liked him. I was out on him everywhere, but man, it seems like the Jets players just can't stand him. I think they got to bring in a veteran if they're going to have any shot at this season. I don't know what that does to Zach Wilson. I don't know if they trade him and see if he can resurrect a career, but I think they're all in on Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr at this point, I think.
I was going to say, I think it's Aaron Rodgers, and they let Zach Wilson sit until Rodgers retires, and then maybe bring him back in and say, hey, you got one shot in your fifth year. Here you go. So, all right. Lions, do they keep the Lions keep Jared Goff for another year, Breeze, or what do you think their move is?
Yeah, they're gonna definitely keep. I mean, right now, with the salary cap projected to go up for this year and also for 2024, it's in the best interest that they do keep him because he got a manageable contract now. When it comes to you know a new contract, that's when things could get interesting because Brad Holmes mentioned the other day that they're going to make backup quarterback a priority. Free agency and or the draft. So I'll be interested to see uh, who they would look at for that. For me personally, I'm probably gonna get some flack for this, but I would love if the Lions added a Hendon Hooker to the team.
Hmm.
I like some of the metrics about him, what he did at UT before he got hurt, unfortunately, but he fared very good among the quarterbacks that's in this class, and I personally think whoever drafts Hendon Hooker might be getting the steal of the draft at the quarterback position.
I agree. I think that's going to be the big story on the draft night. Once you get past that first round, I think the story is going to be who takes Hendon Hooker. Because I think if he gets back from that injury, I think he's a guy because of his age. Everybody's knocking him because of his age, but I actually think he's a guy that can step in and play right away because of his age if he gets fully back from the injury. So I think, see if the Lions, see if like the Saints or somebody take him. I could see that guy actually coming out and being big time. And we've seen the way they project QBs now, guys can play to their mid 30s. So him being 25, 26, you're still going to get 10 years out of him. You're not going to get 3 or 4 like in the past.
That wasn't your question. You're not supposed to add on to it, okay? Get out of here.
I know I can't help myself, John. I can't help myself.
All right. JT, the Packers, are they going to roll with Jordan Love?
I think they are. I don't know if I love it if I'm a Packers fan. I mean, maybe he works out, maybe he doesn't. I mean, this Aaron Rodgers situation, I feel like is going to go on forever, as it did the last 2 years. But if I'm the Packers, I move on from Rodgers. He don't seem happy. They don't seem like they like him much anymore. Try Love, and if Love sucks, then you have a terrible season. And you go get a QB next year.
Yeah. Breeze, Panthers. Are the Panthers going to keep Sam Darnold and just draft around him possibly, or are they going to? They're definitely going after a quarterback.
They got to get a quarterback. I mean, Sam Darnold, he's serviceable, but I don't think he's the answer for Carolina. I mean, maybe they might be one of the teams who might end up trading up for C.J. Stroud, who JT wants to have for his team, but we'll see.
No, all right. JT, Patriots. Is Ramondre Stevenson a buy, sell, or a hold right now in fantasy?
That's a tough one, depending on what you could get for him. If you want to move him, depending on what you can get on that side, I think he's going to be a solid play for them. I just don't see that team going to the air a bunch lately. There's talk about Zappy, maybe move Mac Jones, play Zappy. I like Zappy personally. I think he could be a solid QB, but I think that team's going to run the ball. And even if they split carries with Damian Harris or someone else, I think Stevenson's going to be worthwhile in fantasy.
Yeah. 106 for Ramondre, or would you take Ramondre or 106 if you're like in the middle of the pack?
Yes, me, I take 106 only because at 106, I think I have a shot. If it's a Superflex league, I have a shot. And AR, I love Jordan Addison. I love JSN.
Yeah.
So if I think I could get one of those guys, I absolutely make that move. If you get a Superflex,
Agreed.
everybody needs QB. You could always get a Gibbs. I mean, I love a Gibbs dropping to 1.6 if everybody goes QB in front of me. I love that 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 range. I made a couple trades of guys where I think you can get reasonable trades and get in that range.
Yeah. Breeze, Raiders. Do the Raiders finish last in the AFC West next year?
Yes, it's looking that way. We have no idea what they're doing at the quarterback position, whether they make a play in free agency for an Aaron Rodgers, whatever the case may be, or even if they try to make a play in the draft for Will Levis, who I've seen mock to them recently. Denver getting Sean Payton. Got to imagine they gonna turn things around after such a bad season they had this year. And then you got the Chargers in Kansas City. I don't see them, dropping down for next year.
If Will Levis goes to the Raiders and he sucks for the first couple of years, that team is in trouble with a capital T.
Levis to the Raiders is DeMarcus Russell 2.0. Absolute freaking.
I don't know
think
about
it's
that, man.
Ooh.
I think it's a nightmare. I think Levis is terrible, man. I think if he goes to the Raiders, I think it's an absolute nightmare.
I like Levis. I like him a lot, so I'll just leave it at that. We'll go from there. But
I'm an anti-Levis guy. I don't like him at all. I've watched the film. I just don't like him at all.
I'm with JT. I don't like him either.
Yeah, well, nobody asked you. It's not your turn to talk, all right? All right. Rams, is Baker day one starter next year, true or false?
I think it's false. I think Stafford starts. Stafford's coming back. I know people think he's retiring. I think Stafford starts. If I'm the Raiders, because of the injury history lately, if I'm the Rams, I keep Baker around if I can. In case if Stafford falters, I want to have a guy immediately I can throw in and feel like he can play. So if I'm the Rams, I play Stafford, and then I definitely hold Baker in case anything goes south.
Breeze, Ravens, what's the odds on Lamar coming back?
I'd say at worst it's 50-50. I mean, if I'm the Ravens, I mean, you got to look at the landscape of the AFC. They are stacked with stud quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, emerging Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, just to name a few. I mean, if they end up, moving on from Lamar Jackson, it's going to set them back for many years to come.
Yeah. Secondary question to that: how much would Atlanta love to have Lamar Jackson on the Falcons?
Oh man, hey, listen. If
the touchdown is huge.
If Lamar Jackson go to Atlanta, the hype for Kyle Pitts is going to eclipse the solar system.
That's a good way to put that. Outstanding. Okay, Saints. What do they do? What do they do at quarterback?
John, we talked to this a million times. We want to see Jameis Winston get a shot.
Jameis.
But I still don't understand how he gets a shot when they sat him all last year. If I'm them, here's what I do. I come into the year with Jameis Winston as my starter. I take Hendon Hooker in the second round. That's what I do. I take Hendon Hooker, and I play Jameis until Hendon Hooker's ready. He's cleared, ready to play. If Jameis kills it, you keep him in. If not, bam, I go to Hooker. That's my move if I'm the Saints.
Well, when Jameis kills it, is what you meant to say. So
that's what I meant to say.
Yes, I do. I think Jameis should go back to Tampa Bay. In reality, I would love to see him go back to Tampa Bay and get.
I think that would be an awesome move. I think Tampa. Why not? Why not?
Why not? That's right. Seattle. Geno should get how much for how long? Breeze.
It's hard to say because, I mean, when you got players like Daniel Jones commanding or asking for $45 million, I feel like every player has a right to say what they think they're worth. But in actuality, if Geno, got somewhere around $25 to $30 million, I think that's a fair price for Geno, because I mean, this was really like his first full season. We've seen him play solid football in his entire career, so we don't know what the true ceiling of Geno Smith actually is, because he's been in the league for a long time. So I think if they went anywhere over 35 million, I think that'd be too much for Seattle to do, in my opinion.
All right, Breeze, I'm going to ask you this one because I already know JT's answer. I don't want to hear it again for the 500,000th time. So, Steelers, is Kenny Pickett going to pan out for the Steelers?
I hope he does for the Steelers' sake. I'm not the biggest fan of Kenny Pickett, but I do hope he can help my George Pickens shares get some more life for year 2.
I traded the 107 or 109 last year, I think it was, for George Pickens and Kyle Pickett. So, or Pickett and Pickens. So, I was super happy with that, man. Somebody who didn't like that situation. JT, it's your question. So, Kenny Pickett going to pan out or no?
I think so, man. I think they're going to add some. I hate Matt Canada. I think he's killing that offense, but I think they have a ton of talent. And I think if they could get Jordan Addison at 17 to the moon, Steelers offense, Jordan Addison pairing with Pickens, Deontay might be gone after a year, but I think you just keep adding talent to that offense, and I think they're going to have a shot at O-line in the second round, and I think that offense starts killing it.
Yeah, they don't. They never have a problem picking up a receiver. I don't know how they do it, but it's awesome. Breeze, Texans, do they take wide receiver in the first round?
I do. I mean, they need help everywhere.
Yeah.
So I know you can't address all the needs in a single draft, but I do think they need to take a wide receiver this year in the early rounds.
Yes, sir. JT, what Titans, is Tannehill going to stay because they have no other options, or what do you think they're going to do?
Yeah, I think they stick with Tannehill. I think there's just no way they can move on for him. They're still in that window because the division's so terrible that they can still make the playoffs, especially if Derrick Henry's healthy. But they've obviously got to add another wide receiver option to help out Burks. So I think they go wide out somewhere in the draft, where it's second or third round. But I think Chig at tight end is going to get a shot. So I definitely think they stick with Tannehill at least for another season.
Breeze, Vikings. Do the Vikings add a wide receiver early in the draft if they don't keep Thielen?
Yeah, they got to. I mean, Justin Jefferson, we all know he's a superstar. He's a stud, but you need a secondary player to, take some of that pressure, not only off him, but off Kirk Cousins as well. You don't want to be predictable for the opposing defense, because if Justin Jefferson, the only receiver that's on the field, that's, notable of being honest for, team's going to know that, and they're going to, double him like they was doing later in the season this past year. So I do think they need to address that position if they move on for Thielen.
All right.
I think that's another sneaky landing spot for JSN. I think JSN on the Vikings would be really sneaky good.
Yeah. All right, football team. Thoughts on Howell as a starting quarterback going forward?
Dude, I love him. I hope they stick with him. I hope they give him a shot. I think he's got real ability. I can't believe how far he dropped in the draft. I took him everywhere I could get him. I really actually think adding Eric Bieniemy there. I think Eric Bieniemy's got something to prove. I love Dotson. I like McLaren. I like their running backs. I actually think that team's got a shot to be much improved on offense. I love Howell in that situation. I hope he gets a shot.
What do you like better, Ritter or Howell?
I like Howell a little bit better, but I do like that situation in Atlanta. Again, I said if you get Lamar in Atlanta, I think, man, it's to the sky, because I think he is perfect for that offense, the way they want to run the ball. I mean, look at the rushing yards Mariota put up last year. Yeah. I mean, you put Lamar in that system with London, with Pitts, with another year, add another weapon. I love my Lamar shares would go through the roof with him on Atlanta. But I like Howell. I think Howell's got a better shot. I'm not a hater on Ritter. I actually think if they don't make the move for Lamar, I would stick and give Ritter a shot for the season. And if he bombs, then he go QB next year. But give him a shot to see what he's got.
Mary Goda. All right, I kept the Breeze on here long enough, so we got it real fast. We're going to do a team evaluation. So what we're going to do now is do a team evaluation by the team that I put up here on the Twitter machine. I'll share this team. So, share screen. entire screen. Okay, there we go. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. All right, so we have this team here that I'm going to put up. It is it's my team actually. So I'm looking for some help from you guys to see what kind of trades I need to do. I got Patrick Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, Isaiah Pacheco is my running back. It's just for reference here. It's a 12 team, 30 man rosters, no kicker, no defense, tight end premium, 0.75, super flex, 5 and 2 for touchdown interception, and 6 points for rushing receiving touchdowns, 100-yard bonuses, stuff we talked about earlier. So if this is the team that I'm showing you, Patrick Mahomes is a quarterback, Josh Jacobs, Isaiah Pacheco, Devonta Smith, Chris Godwin, DJ Moore is my wide receivers, Dawson Knox to pair with my other quarterback, who's Josh Allen, Juju Smith-Schuster and Khalil Shakir, who's on every team I own. Those are my other receivers. But I have Trevor Lawrence as my third quarterback, Deion Jackson, Zach Moss, Pierre Strong, Keontae Ingram, TDP, Kenny Gainwell, Kevin Harris, Eno Benjamin, Jalen Warren, Julius Chestnut, Jerome Ford. And then I go to my receivers, Corey Davis, Greg Dortch, Sky Moore, Isaiah McKenzie, Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Naylor, that's John Ross, not Justin Ross. Mike Gesicki. I got Miles Gaskin, Gibson, Javonte Williams, Calvin Austin, and Greg Dulcich on his team. So what is the direction of this team, you think? How is this team as far as a contender, pretender? Any moves you would make to make this team better? What do you think?
I think it's not a bad team at all. I will say got a lot of running backs on the team. I would try to go after Evan Ingram, Jacoby Myers. I think those kind of pieces won't cost you a lot. That'll give you an opportunity to help that team compete for next year. It helps, to know that Evan Ingram is not leaving Jacksonville. So, that's an ascending team. So chances are good things are going to be in store for Evan Ingram next year, even with Calvin Ridley coming back. And then Jacoby Myers, he's that glue guy. He's not the player, who's going to wow you or do anything spectacular, but he's going to give you production, that nice, wide receiver 2, 3 floor, week in and week out. I think, a piece like that with Evan Ingram could, put you in a position to make a run for next year without costing you too much in draft capital.
Yeah, the people who have Evan Ingram don't want to give him up right now. They saw the production he did have last season, so it's tough. It's really tough to get Evan Ingram right now.
It's funny because last year, ain't nobody want nothing. Really, last several years, ain't nobody want nothing to do with Evan Ingram.
Give him away. You could give him away. I was actually somebody posted 40 times from the combine because it's obviously combine week. He ran a 4.42 at the combine. I was like, I did not know Evan Ingram had that kind of speed at all.
Wow.
4.42 at the combine. I was shocked. I was like, wow. I was like, that's pretty incredible.
I traded away Evan Ingram to get Mike Gesicki in this league earlier in the season, and then I have Trevor Lawrence, so it was kind of tough. Now I wish I would have kept that stack together. I mean, but I have Mahomes and Josh Allen here too, so it's kind of I'm trying to trade one of the 3 quarterbacks, but I don't know if I want to. Going in a super flex with those 3 quarterbacks for my future.
Your quarterback depth is amazing.
Yeah,
I love that quarterback depth.
See,
here's my thing is I've learned on quarterback depth in Superflex leagues, sometimes your team might not look as good as other teams, but you get a couple injuries. If you got QBs and they don't, you can carry yourself pretty far. And I mean, as a guy who owns a lot of Mike Gesicki, I'm hoping he ends up in a good spot. He needs a good landing spot where somebody will let him play that big slot receiver, kind of tight end / slot receiver, because I think Gesicki's got talent. Miami just didn't use him with their system they had. I still think Gesicki's got a high upside. He just got to end up in the right situation.
I was crossing my fingers that Gesicki was going to go to Jacksonville. I was like, yes, come on. And then Evan Ingram's going to get re-signed. I'm like,
and then he blows up. Yeah.
I was like, so yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I do have a lot of running backs, but I like to have like 3 or 4, or like ideally for me, I'd like to have 5 really good wide receivers. And then first of all, I like to get my quarterback in situation stacked. I like to figure out tight end, but it's kind of tough in a tight end premium league with 12 teams when people don't want to give up their tight ends, and there's only a handful of good tight ends anyway. So, and I traded away T.J. Hockenson for a couple first round, or I think it was 3 second round picks last year, like early second round picks, and end up being like Jalen Tolbert and guys and what's his name from the Browns. Who's the Browns' third receiver that's behind PBJ now?
David Bell.
David Bell, and like all these guys who I'm thinking, yes, I got them to get 3 stud receivers, make this happen. And all 3 of them just didn't pan out. They fell on their face freshman year, their rookie season. So it's to give up Hockenson for those kind of those kind of assets, because I thought Hockenson was going to have a ceiling. So I don't know. Is that your boy back there? What's up, buddy?
You want to wave, huh?
How you doing? Thanks for being on the show, man. All right, so yeah, that's any other JT. What do you think? Any other direction this team should take? Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, no, I like those suggestions. I've got a couple teams like this that I'm real strong at quarterback. I've got a couple studs, but my team's not very deep. And I'm looking at it like, do I blow it up? Do I make a couple crazy trades? But a few injuries in and a couple things happen. As long as you're strong at QB and 12 or 14 team Superflex, I think you can compete. I really do think you can compete and be in the mix. So, just eyeing that, making a couple moves here and there. I think this is a deep draft. So I don't think it's as high end as people originally thought it was going to be.
Come on, you know me. I don't have any draft picks, dude. Get out
I know you never have draft picks, so that's always the issue for you. You always trade around. But here's the other thing, John, is like, there's guys always looking for draft picks. If you go, hey, let me trade you a draft pick for this guy next year. I think you can maybe make some room, because now, of course, we're not even to the 2023 draft, and you already have guys hyping the 24 draft.
Yes.
So now it might be a good time where you go, hey, I got this 24 second, this 24 third. You want to throw me, a medium range wide receiver? Do you want to throw me a Tyler Boyd? Do you want to throw me somebody else for like a third? And I mean, there's a chance where you can add some of those, pieces that aren't super high end, but you can get some productive guys, on your list. And like I said, this offseason is going to be interesting to see how it kind of shakes out where some of these guys end up. Because I've got a couple guys pushing like Joe Mixon to be in leagues. They're trying to trade him to me. I'm like, I don't want any part of Joe Mixon until I know what the Bengals are doing. Because I could see them drafting Bijan and cutting Mixon or trading Mixon and doing something totally different. So this is a tough time to make trades right now until after you see what's going to happen, free agency and the draft. At this point, unless it's like high-end player for a high-end player is not going anywhere, I'm kind of sitting tight on any trades at this point and waiting it out to see where guys end up.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait till the best time to. I don't think I'm getting any picks right now. Picks are super valuable right now in a dynasty league because draft's coming up. That nobody wants to part with anything. They're getting starry-eyed over even their 4th round picks right now. So it's kind of like, all right, I'm gonna wait till after the draft when roster cuts are due, and then guys have to get rid of stuff. And I'm going to take on a couple shitty pieces and a late second round draft pick, or a 3rd round pick for like one of my decent players, just because I know they got to cut down. So I'm going to try and play some games with getting draft picks, but that's all I can do now is just pick up draft picks and hopefully they pan out. Because I love my quarterback situation. Dawson Knox, I think it just signed him a long-term contract with, and I like to have a tight end stack with a quarterback in case they do have a good game. I got Gesicki and Dawson Knox, which aren't bad, but they're not good either, as far as that goes. So,
like I said, I think Dawson Knox is good. I think Gesicki, depending on landing spot, could be good. But also, John, I think you bring up a great point. If you're someone who trades away a lot of your draft picks, man, that first waiver wire cut after waiver wire pickup after cuts is gigantic for you, because you can get some guys who are like, man, I love this rookie. I don't have any room for him on my taxi. I don't have a room for him on my roster. That's where you can kind of snake those guys and stash them if you don't have picks, because you have more room on your roster.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, it's running backs. Having a tons of running backs, because guys get hurt all the time in running back position. I try to get backups and even like third string, or like PPR backs like Kevin Harris. I mean, that guy's he's so fast, he's so athletic, he's so I love having guys like that on my team. So,
perfect example. I've been talking to people about like Khalil Herbert and Ebner for the Bears. If Monty ends up not being back on the Bears, Herbert goes gigantic in value, and now Ebner all of a sudden becomes super valuable because, man, Herbert gets hurt. I think Ebner still gets carries with Herbert, but man, if Herbert goes down, and we've seen running backs go down constantly, all of a sudden Ebner now is a huge play. So I hate cutting any of those guys right now. I want any of those guys in a questionable situation, especially if they got talent, because I actually think Herbert's really good. I love Monty, but I think Herbert's really good, and I think Ebner has some high upside too. So those are guys I want to add right now. With the the situation not knowing what's happening with Monty, if you can pick those guys up or trade for them for someone who's not really paying attention to that situation, and they think they're sending you a backup running back, I think that's worth the chance to see if they work out.
Yeah, I mean, if Javonte is, I don't think he's coming back healthy, but if somehow, some way he pulls an AP and comes back healthy next season, and my running backs are Josh Jacobs and Javonte Williams, and I got Antonio Gibson on the bench with guys like, Jalen Warren and Kenny Gainwell, if he gets a starting role, in Philly, I think I'm okay here. So,
yeah, anyway. I think they can switch quickly. I mean, Javonte, if you have room to sit on Javonte, sit on him. I just traded him the other day for a 1.7. I got offered 1.10 for him. I pushed back and got 1.7 for him. That's about the highest I've seen. I've seen a couple of people go 1.8, 1.9, 1.10 for him. So I was deep at running back, and for me, sitting on him, I could have, but I'm like, hey, let me go in at 1.7 and see if I can get an Addison, see if I can JSN. Maybe I love a running a landing spot at one of these RBs in the rookie draft, and I get one of those guys at 1.7. So I thought it was worth it for me at that point because I've got a pretty good running back crew with JT and CMC on that team, and I actually have Monty as my third running back. So Williams was my fourth. So I was like, I want to go with the high upside of taking a 1.7, and if nothing else, I can stash that guy on my taxi.
Yeah. All right, well, I kept you long enough today, Mr. Commissioner Breeze, man, so I appreciate it. Shows sometimes go 45 minutes, like once every 3 years, and sometimes I go an hour and 45 minutes like this one, so it is what it is. We like to talk, and this is, it's our hobby. This is what we do. It would take a lot longer to change out my exhaust system on a car than would be sitting in front of talking fantasy football right now, so.
For sure.
Did a lot of good stuff. I appreciate you taking your time out. I know you got a family behind you, and everybody's, running around. My kids are watching Netflix and playing Call of Duty right now, so they're all taken up. But where can everybody find you at again? Where can they find you on Twitter machine, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, again, you guys can find me on Twitter at MCBreeze11, Commissioner Breeze on Facebook. If you got any questions, fantasy football related, life, whatever the case may be, my DMs are always open.
All right, JT.
Yeah, just hit me up on JT Orange on Twitter. Obviously, if you're in the Discord pages, I'm JT Orange 4 at most of those Discord pages. I talk anything, everything, trades, fantasy stuff. I do gambling, everything, basketball, football, hockey. So hit me up on all that stuff. I play every type of league, anything from IDP to redraft to single QB. So you got any questions about that kind of stuff, values on that things, feel free to hit me up. I'm always answering people on Twitter.
Yeah, I interact on Twitter all the time. I'm super busy on there. I have a lot of time on my hands. I don't really know how to do all the technical stuff through the other apps and things, social media stuff, but I am pretty well versed in Dynasty Fantasy Football. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit my DMs. Call me, tune into the show, subscribe to the podcast. Let me know, and you can find me at John McGlynn 75 on the Twitter machine. I'm pretty much always on there because I'm like a teenage girl with my phone, so it's always in my hand. So hit me up. Thanks for tuning in, Commish. Thanks for coming on today. Really appreciate you spending your time with us. And this is it was a blast. So this is the Commissioner Evaluation Show, and thanks everybody for coming out here.
I repeat, McGlynn is in. Let the fun
Everybody
begin.
have a great day.
This is the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast with your host, John McGlynn.
Was that Herms?
He got them guests on the Rolodex, stopping by to talk about some Dynasty Superflex. Everybody, Commish is in. It's time to sit down to listen to John McGlynn. Who we trading, who we fading, who we getting off the squad. Knowledge never overrated, playing for number one. And McGlynn is in. It's time to let the fun begin. It's the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast with John McGlynn.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Really appreciate it. Commissioner Evaluation Show. Thank you very much.